Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Did you know that Colorado is #1 in car theft, #2 most dangerous state in the country, #4 in rape, #4 in property crime, #8 highest violent crime rate, #10 highest rate of human trafficking? Over 70% of child rapists get only probation. A bill initiated by GOP Rep. Brandy Bradley that would mandate jail time for child rapists was killed by the Democrats. 3 years in a row, it was killed. Under current law, you can rape up to 3 children and still get probation, making Colorado the most pedophile-friendly state in the country.
That is Colorado. That's the Colorado that the entire country is talking about. That's the Colorado that's kind of led us to a place now where we wonder, is there anything left? And we have to start asking ourselves the question, is how do you fix something that is so fundamentally broken? And who has the ability to fix it? I mean, if we really want to be honest, everything that you see on there as far as car thefts, dangerous state, rape, property crime, highest crime level, 10th highest, the highest rate of human trafficking, 70% of child rapists only get probation. All of those things tie back to not police officers, but to a rotted judiciary, which is what I said related to this. So I put this post up. Go ahead and put it up if you would, please. And it says Colorado's captured state, but why? Today we'll spell it out. It's not the cops. It is in fact the rotted, disgusting, and purposely corrupt and evil judiciary. They are the enforcers of evil. They're the evil. They are the ones that let evil run amok. They are the ones that allow it. They were appointed by evil that was selected by stolen, fraudulent elections. It's time to stop letting them lie. We know they are stolen. It's time to do in Colorado what we should have always done. Throw them out and take back our state. The state of Colorado in every way, shape, and form has been captured. And it's not like other states, or unlike other states. We have Mondami in New York City. We could talk about what happened in Virginia. You could talk about what happened in California and Washington and Oregon, and we're held hostage by these freaks. Now, most of our country are reasonable people. Most. I would say that most people are reasonable. But today we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about the GOP's ineffective ways that have led to where we are right now in Colorado. And the fact that the same thing, like I've spent the last 3 weeks being a part of this process for running for GOP state chair. A position that I will take that it will be unpaid. We'll do most of these shows, by the way. We'll do most of these shows on the road. I will literally be in a car zigzagging across the state, meeting with donors and meeting with the chairs, doing the things that are necessary in order to restore the GOP in the state of Colorado. But if we're talking about the effects of this radicalism on our communities, this is not just a Republican issue. This is an issue that affects Democrats, independents, and pretty much all the way down the line unless you're a communist socialist weirdo, which, frankly, because of stolen elections, has been put in a position of trust and authority in the state of Colorado in order to destroy it. I want to show you something. This is Erin. If you don't know Erin, Erin is for parents' rights, and she's been really public. She's done amazing things around the entire state of Colorado. She's gotten bills passed. She's gotten petitions signed. She has relentlessly pursued parental rights. But here's the why. 5 years ago, Erin's daughter, let me just read this. 5 years ago, my little girl was secretly being groomed and transitioned at her public school. 4 years ago, she was still in the dark clouds, suicidal, identifying as a boy named Toby. Last night, she went to her first prom with her boyfriend, glowing with confidence and grace. Thank you, Jesus, for saving her. What the enemy meant for evil, God is turning into good. If you're a parent fighting for your child right now, and it feels hopeless, please hold on. There is a light on the other side. I won't stop fighting for you, for your horror story to have I won't stop fighting for your horror story to have a happy ending too. And this is her daughter coming down the stairs in order to go to prom. We keep talking about what these radical judges are doing. These radical judges that, frankly, are completely, disgustingly off the rails. And finally, yesterday, I got a phone call from a judge. Let me say that again. Yesterday, I got a phone call from a Colorado judge who said, I want to blow the whistle on these radical leftists inside of the judiciary. And I go, okay, what does that look like? We don't know yet. We're going to walk through it over the next couple of days. We're going to get to a place where we can have conversations about what this judge is willing to divulge. But just the things that this judge said to me made my skin crawl. And this judge said, Joe, if you only knew what happens behind closed doors, if you only knew what was being pushed by people inside of the judiciary, if you only knew how they are being pressured and pushed into a place where they can do real harm to people in the community, if you only knew. And I said, well, it sounds like we're going to know. So over the next couple weeks, we're going to negotiate how this is going to work. I'm going to try really hard to get this judge on the show. And just as an update, the show we did with Michael out in Honesdale, Pennsylvania, was watched over 1 million times, nearly in entirety, because of many of you that went and shared that video. And as a result, we now have a group of over 20 people over the last decade that they've done the same thing to. We have someone that is currently going through the same process of them stealing resources from someone who is aged. I'm talking stealing millions of dollars. So what started out as Phil Latham's problem has now led to Michael having the same thing happen, where you have judges and lawyers that are stealing from the people. And now we have over 20 people that have come forward and said, hey, here's what we have. Can we talk about this too? We're in trouble, guys. We're in trouble because the rotted judiciary is treating us like slaves, and we are slaves. But we don't have any help. So today we're going to talk about the Colorado GOP. We're going to talk about what happened at the assembly. I have Jason Lupo, who's in the studio to talk a little bit about what he saw there. I spent 7 hours on my feet. And just to show you how bad the child predators are being protected by these judges, by these evil judges that have locked up Tina for 9 years while letting their own people go with probation and a couple of hours of community service. 9.5 years Tina got by a radical leftist piece of trash, deviant. And let's talk about this for a minute. A Colorado school social worker, Chloe Castro, avoids prison time after pleading guilty to a felony for sexual assaulting a minor student who she had a sexual relationship with, and will instead be in the state's probation program. Tina Peters is in jail for 9 years. Our system in the state of Colorado is completely corrupted. It is captured by a bunch of evil demons. And I want to here's a picture of the sexual pervert that groomed a child. That keeps happening. They keep passing new laws to take away your Second Amendment, take away your First Amendment. They have judges in positions of trust and authority that do things to strip people of the ability to have their own attorneys. David Beller, the attorney for Eric Coomer, a part of one of the largest corruption cases in the history of Colorado. And we're in trouble, and while all of this happens, while all the barns burn, we have a GOP that not only is largely anemic, but I keep hearing, the more I talk to state chairs and more I talk to people in the county level, it is literally infiltrated with people who act like children. And they attack and they make innuendos and they slander and they lie. And then they met me. Two things are going to happen. I'm going to talk to Jason about that too. You're going to hear about it in the state of Colorado. One, I have an appetite to sue people who slander me. I have an appetite for it. Matter of fact, I've gone through it for 6 years. And if I'm going to do anything, why not attack the bullies that have been hurting people for so long? So I have that appetite. I also have an appetite to save the Colorado GOP from becoming irrelevant or more irrelevant than it has, because a part of stealing elections is not having the ability to have proper representation in the state for the people that maintain and still are a majority of the people in Colorado. But they don't vote. And those that do vote, their voice is stolen by 20, 30, 40% fraudulent and fake ballots. I think that we probably should look at, is this all the information, by the way, from the department for the people that, how many times have happened? Well, I think this isn't a full report though, but let's walk through some of the people, the cases, verified reports from today to 2026. Because as of this morning, I'm fairly sure it was just over 35 or 40 people. So we have a teacher, educators, Robert Denise, 2023 was charged with sexually assaulting a child. Christopher Ballard, arrested in 2024, sentenced in January 2026. Multiple child victims. Teresa Whalen, Branch Middle School, arrested November 2025. Tara Johnson Schwartz, STEM School, Highlands Ranch, arrested February 2025, sentenced in 2026. Fort Collins teacher that they made unknown. They literally sealed it. An unknown Fort Collins school teacher, arrested in March of 2025. Patricio Alejandro Ilian, arrested January 2026, 50 counts of sexual exploitation of a child. Jason Gunderson, this is a college instructor, arrested March of 2026, 77 counts of sex assault on a child. Social workers, you have Chloe. I mean, we don't have a statewide database either of all of these people. We don't have it. These are trusted adults that are in a grooming environment. We could talk about what happened to Erin, and yet we don't have the proper mechanisms to hold them accountable. And what should we be doing with these people? We're going to talk to Jason about that too. I personally think they should all be executed. You sexually assault a child, you should be executed. You traffic children, you should be executed. You want to say, Joe, you can't say that. Yes, I can. You want to hurt a child, you should not live. That child has to live with it for the rest of their lives. And you want to say, oh my gosh, this is Joe calling for violence. This is me calling for an accountability to get back to a place where we have this massive slide and degradation in our society, and it stops, and these people know that there are consequences. I want to put this up here. This is going to be relevant for today's conversation. Let's go ahead and put this post up. This is from Pursue Truth. I've been a registered Republican for 7 months. I've traveled across Colorado for my work. And despite it being a Democrat-dominated state, I see that a majority of Coloradans, including a significant number of gays, align on the actual issues with conservative platform. Where the GOP has failed and the Democrats continue to succeed is on identity politics and guilty by association branding. I meet people every day who are fundamentally conservative but will not consider voting Republican because they've been convinced by an onslaught of Democrat propaganda that doing so would associate themselves with pedophiles or racists or anti-progressives. So out of social shame and conformist pressure to to be viewed as nice, they vote for Democrats and their destructive policies. The GOP needs to develop a smart, targeted marketing campaign on social media that interviews diverse Republicans and independents about why they are conservative. Why is the Republican Party asleep at the wheel on marketing and so many other issues like the SAVE Act? So we'll go ahead and put the picture out. Is there a picture there too or no? And there he is. And by the way, this guy's gay. And here, I had the conversation this morning. Joe, we have to narrow the window on our values. And I'm like, okay, can we agree on the values first? Can we get consensus in the Republican Party on values, on who we want in our party? Because grassroots think that they own everything. The neocons, they think they own everything. The rhinos, I don't even know what even constitutes a rhino anymore. Disagree with someone and you get considered ostracized from the grassroots. So joining me is Jason Lupo. Jason, welcome. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's talk. Let's start out, can we? And we're going to be. Why don't you actually give everyone your background? I would read it, but yeah, I'm not going to read it.
So I live in Colorado Springs. I own full Armour Swim Team. I'm a swim coach by trade. We also do pool and recreation management. So we manage large HOA properties, things like that. Ran for office back in 2024. I was the most expensive Republican primary that wasn't a federal office. I guess you can call it the special interest groups came in with hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that I did not end up in that seat. I currently serve as the JD4 chair and currently the acting Congressional District 5 chair. Been in politics a long time, also run campaigns as well. Have a master's from Clemson in youth development leadership. Always loved working with kids and want to make sure that we have a place for youth to belong and youth to develop that isn't a safe environment where we don't have the pedophiles coming after them.
All right, so let's dive into a few things if we can. You were at the assembly.
Oh yeah, I got in line. I guess we'll start from the beginning. I got in line at 7:50 in the morning. Didn't get into the door till 12:20 in the afternoon. Just an absolute train wreck. Outside, surrounded by people that didn't necessarily align with who I was going to vote for within the assembly, which I did not make overtly apparent, especially given some of the positions that I hold. But had some interesting conversations with a number of people. Everybody that goes into that room believes that they're right, believes that their candidate's the right choice, and believes that, everybody that doesn't agree with them is just not looking at facts or not looking at the right information or doesn't have the right ideas. And that's kind of what stood out for me from the, I guess you could say, 4.5 hours of standing outside. And it was just kind of a cluster when you go in there to go do credentialing. They had it by name, which is not how it was written in the rules. That's not how it was supposed to take place. It was supposed to take place via county. You were supposed to check in and ballot via county. Don't know what took place. The rumors that were floating around outside was that they were having internet issues. There was rumors floating around that one candidate was inside the building well before 7 a.m., that there was printing that took place by a candidate with inside the facility, that they didn't have anything printed the morning of, or before the morning of, that they were printing ballots that morning. All of it just didn't quite make sense, and to have no contingencies, to have no backup plan. I mean, how did we run these assemblies back before 2000 when computers and internet really weren't a thing? Why do we need the internet to make sure that we have a assembly that functions properly? I mean, why didn't we have backup lists? And that's what was going through my head. And then I get inside and they have paper lists. They have paper lists with everybody's name on it that you check in, you show your ID, you sign the piece of paper. And so when there was 80 extra votes, because supposedly they couldn't get an accurate number on credentialing, somebody asked the question, why don't you just count the signatures on the piece of paper? And Britta Horn goes, we can't do that. Well, why not? What happened to the papers? I mean, there's just a lot of issues throughout this entire assembly that go back to either not having proper standard operating procedures, not understanding what everybody's job is. I heard from volunteers that were there that volunteered in several different capacities that the rules kept changing, their jobs kept changing, what they were supposed to do, how they were supposed to cooperate in the process kept changing. It was just a mess, Joe.
Yeah, so it did give me a chance to actually walk up and down and talk to people in line, and I feel like it is out of control, that the party is out of control. Now, the interesting part today is I put up a video a couple days ago, yesterday morning. And it was in response to the day before putting it out. I had just left the deal. I had heard that there's going to be an overvote situation where they had 80 more votes than they had people that were credentialed. And that creates an interesting dynamic because they waited till the end of the night. Everyone's leaving. The right way would have been to do it is to revote. But it's 6 o'clock at night. People are tired. These are all volunteers. The delegates are volunteers. The people that are there running it are volunteers. And I'm not sure everyone understands just how dysfunctional the Republican Party is in Colorado. But I put out something that basically along the same lines of what you're saying. And it's running people off. It's literally running off good people, and it's leaving us with, I don't even know what you call what's left at the bottom of the barrel.
I mean, who wants to do this? Ultimately, at the end of the day, I woke up in the morning and my wife goes, well, how long are you going to be gone? I said, well, I'll be back in the evening. And she goes, well, what's evening, 6 p.m. or 10 p.m.? I said, I have no clue. And then I got there and I took a picture of the line. I said, it's going to be 10 p.m. And at the same time that morning, I said, well, I guess I could, potentially credential, leave, go to my son's soccer game and come back.
Right.
But I would have never been credentialed at that point. And then to say that the rule is that you have to be in line by 9 a.m. or they're not going to let you credential. Well, now you're sitting there and you're going, okay, well, how are we going to control this? What if somebody needs to use the restroom?
We did our part. We showed up. We did everything.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not talking about lines that were small. It took until 1 o'clock, by the way, at 11 o'clock they did the pledge and the national anthem. Well, there were still 1,000 people outside.
Probably more.
The line was around the building.
So there was a lady that walked around and she said, well, the line is finally moving. And she said this, and I thought it was hilarious. She said, the line is moving about a foot a minute. Now, Joe, I was probably at least a quarter of a mile away from the entrance of the building.
Right.
Which is, a quarter of a mile. Let's just say for ease, let's say I was 1,200 feet away. All right. A foot a minute, 60 feet an hour, divided by 1,200. She basically walked around and told everybody it was going to take 20 hours to get inside that building. I don't know if anybody else was doing that math, but I'm like, to move a foot a minute for a quarter mile, that's going to take 20 hours.
Yeah, so it's, and by 1 o'clock it still wasn't done. We got started somewhere around 1:45.
Yeah, it was like close to 2.
Yeah, so people show up at 7 in the morning. You have people that were standing outside. It was brutally cold, actually, for the first couple hours.
And then it warmed up, and then I got sun on my face, and now people are sunburned walking around, and I'm like, whew, everybody just came from the beach.
So here's the when they were talking about the overvote situation by 80 votes. I want you to listen to what the people are saying after they heard this. Go ahead and play it.
We have discovered a credentialing issue. So listen up. The credentials report that we adopted earlier was based on the scanning technology as you walked through the door. It's readily apparent that not everyone scanned their badges as they came in. We have an overvote situation I'm not
Overvote?
exactly sure, but I've heard numbers around 80 votes.
What?
Okay? I understand.
I wonder if it's
Not
like
good. I
alternates.
completely understand.
No. But we got scanned over and over and over again.
I will have the credentials chair explain this further, and I want you to give you, before we take any testimony or debate or anything, I just want you to understand in my professional parliamentary
This is,
community,
we're gonna have to have a redo.
Well, so first off, why is your credentials report based on a scan? Like, you literally had to sign in on a piece of paper and show
Yeah.
your ID. Why aren't we counting the amount of signatures? Why aren't we counting the amount of badges that were given out? And then the other thing is your credentials report did not tell us how many guests were in that room. And this becomes a really big issue, Joe, because you have guests in the room, which they're allowed to be in the room, but they should have been divided and put into one section. And the reason is because most of the votes that take place outside of voting for the actual candidate takes place with either a voice vote or a rising vote. Well, if you don't know where the guests are and the guests are intermingled amongst the entire crowd and you do a rising vote, how do we guarantee that the people that were in the audience voting by either voice or voting by standing had an actual vote? Because if you're a guest and you're voting for one of these amendments to rules or whatever other motion is in place, how can you guarantee that you actually have 2/3 of the body or half of the body that's voting in favor or against a certain motion? Because now you have guests involved where you haven't partitioned them off, you don't know where they are, they're intermixed in the crowd. Some people are saying Victor Marx might have had 1,000 guests in the audience, and this is not a show to
It's
go
not
like
true. It's not
you
true.
know, going after Victor Marx, but we do know that there was a ton of guests that were there, probably in support of multiple candidates. And my whole thing is, regardless if it's 1,000 or 100 or whatever it is, where were they and why were they not sectioned off into a section just for guests? And how do we make sure that we have votes, either standing or voice votes, that are votes of just the delegates that have a voice or a vote in that motion?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is, and this is where I really get into the meat of the entire event, the lack of civility and how it evolves into, and I was talking about when you walked in the door this morning. Like I've had 20 phone calls. Like, I don't even know how you do this. I don't know how you stay engaged when so many people are like, I hate this person, I hate this person, I hate this person. I had to get 2 men on the phone and tell both of them to cut it out, right? 2 grown men, 2 people that I respect. I'm like, what's going on with you guys? Like, go have coffee. The first thing you should say is, let's sit down and have coffee, right? But we don't do that. We had someone that was in Elbert County. They got elbowed by another woman who had previously told this new arrival to Elbert County that, I don't like you. I don't like you. They just met. There's no reason they don't like each other other than the fact that somebody decided they don't like them. I don't like you. Oh, you put up a motion and you just walked in. Who do you think you are? You should sit down and wait your turn. Is that a norm? That's a norm. Is that not a norm?
It's become a norm. It's become a norm that, like, I had one man say to me, well, if you support Joe for chair, then you're no longer part of the grassroots. And I'm thinking, like, I don't think you understand how much of the grassroots is going to turn out and support Joe, but why are we putting a title on this anyways? We're talking about the future of this party. And when you look at what took place at Assembly, regardless of whether or not it was 100 guests, 1,000 guests, regardless of all the little nuances, the fact of the matter is there was a lack of transparency, there was a lack of standard operating procedures, and every single person that was there has a right to question whether or not the vote was accurate and the count was accurate. And I'm not saying the count wasn't accurate. I'm not throwing out that accusation right now. But we all have the right to question whether or not it was.
Well, it obviously wasn't, because you had 80 overvotes.
Well, you did have 80 overvotes.
So we don't. I mean, there's no way to tell. But they conceded to the 80. So they did a new credentialing report with the extra 80 votes, and said, all right, let bygones be bygones.
Well, and I think I gave pictures of the rules. If we can pull up the first rule, which was the balloting rules.
Yeah, go ahead and put it up.
Here's the balloting rules. I don't know if we can get that any larger.
Can you make that bigger?
go ahead and just like zoom in on the rules.
It's going to take forever to do
But
that.
but anyways, the rules right here. I mean, this is the rules for balloting, and it says right here, and it's going to be hard to read from this position. But the balloting was supposed to be done by the county,
Right.
right? So that's number one. And when you look at this and you go, okay, so now we approve the rules. Did we actually approve an amendment to these rules? And we don't know because the PA system at that point was an utter catastrophe.
Yeah, it didn't work very well.
So whether or not these rules were amended to change how they passed out ballots, I can't actually claim that I know whether or not they changed these rules, which is a big issue.
Again, this comes down to, go ahead, take it down. This comes down to the same thing that I keep saying before, which is you have to make sure that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't have a process put in place, and as you know, because you brought me a diet soda, right? I sat in the same place for 7 hours. I stood. I didn't sit. I stood in the same place for 7 hours in the back of the room, and I observed everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think, there's a lot of issues. One of the issues that I contested was they had a rule that you could not take photos or videos from outside of the teller room into the teller room. This was a rule that did not exist anywhere in either the state GOP rules or the teller committee rules. And we actually have an image of the teller committee rules where it says, basically you can't have any cell phones inside the teller committee room.
Which you shouldn't be able to have.
Which you should.
Yeah.
Now, I did make the argument earlier that you should be able to have video and photography inside the teller committee room, just no communication device.
All right, so by the time, let me just explain this to you. So you got up twice and filed a motion that you should be able to record
Yes.
outside the room in order to, and Priscilla said that if you can't trust, I thought this was the most fascinating part about it. Priscilla, who's actually a nice person, super nice person, said, if you can't trust your fellow Republicans, and I started laughing when she said it, and I was like, because there was a debate started on it, and I said, if you can't trust it, and I looked around the room, and I was like, nobody in this room even likes each other. Like no, they don't trust it. Just put a recorder on the outside of it, then you know what happened.
Well, and the thing about it is she kept saying to me, she said, well, if you see anything, just let me know. Well, at one point I got into an exchange with Priscilla, and she said, I'll be right back. She left and went into the room. She never came back out. At that point, I see a flash drive sitting in one of the machines.
Do you have the picture of that?
Let's pull up the flash drive on that machine. Here's what I'm told, okay? And I am told that essentially these machines are scanners. There's 4 of them, okay? They scan the ballots.
The USB drive. I wish Mark Cook was on here, man. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so here's what I'm told is this process, okay? They scan all the ballots through these 4 scanners, okay? When I first went up to the window, this is when they're counting the governor's race, 3 of the 4 scanners were being used. This one where the USB drive is in was not being utilized. And I said, okay, so how does this work? You scan the ballots, then what happens? They go, well, it goes to the computer, and the computer basically records what the vote was. And if there's any discrepancy, then it goes to be adjudicated. So essentially, this is no different than any other voting machine that exists in the world right now. The computer is deciding who the vote was. And not a single person is sitting there approving every single ballot that gets scanned. Now, at one point, they're using 3 scanners to scan these ballots. What I'm told later is that they actually ended up scanning all of the ballots through all of the machines, which also doesn't make sense because now you have certain piles. Who's there to verify that the piles got put in the right scan, and why you can no longer verify that each ballot was actually scanned properly if you have all these different tabulations of these ballots. And then to go on, at some point, this 3rd machine that has the USB drive in it starts to be utilized. I asked the question, what happened? Why wasn't it utilized to begin with? They said, oh, there was a discrepancy, or there was an error in the device. There was a line of code or something like that. I'm like, so how is this any different than using a Dominion machine? How is this like you're asking a computer to spit out the results of a race that you've scanned all the documents into?
Yeah.
And you're asking us to trust it. And there's no hand
And
count that's
there was
going
no
on.
hand count.
There's no hand count.
Yeah. So, so this is where it gets into making the party look incompetent. First of all, you had Britta Horn, who was the state chair, had a vote about 10 days ago that said that they found that she was not fit to be the chair. They lost confidence in her. That was 2/3 to 1/3 roughly.
Yeah.
Correct? 238 to. She then resigns. You have a rule of no confidence, and she resigns. Then the party starts attacking each other over the people that voted that they did have confidence versus didn't have confidence. Correct? Is that right?
That is true.
Okay. So then after that, Britta Horn is responsible for putting on the assembly. And the fighting inside of the party. And if you're watching this and you're not fatigued already by what I've already told you, trust me, it gets much worse. So then I get out there and I'm like, okay, Britta resigns. Peg Cage comes to me and says, hey, Joe, I want you to run for county chair. I have a meeting that Sunday. You knew about this. Mm-hmm. The Sunday before before I announced at your meeting that I was stepping down running for the governor's race, and I would step in to run for state chair. That Sunday, I met with Barb Kirkmeyer, Scott Bottoms, and Jason Meixel in my office right here. And we had a discussion about what I thought their plans were, what their policies were, what was important to me, and whether or not the three of them could adopt those policies into their campaign if they made sense. They all agreed, and I was like, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to step out. So they knew before. Everyone knew before, except for Victor Marks. Victor Marks the only one that knew before. I was like, I'm going to step out of the governor's race. I think you guys have this handled. I'm going to step into the state chair's race, and I'm going to fix the state fully so that we have a firm foundation of candidates, Republicans, donor, so we can take the state back. Because you'd agree the state is absolutely a disaster. Then I met with you, and you're like, I'm running for chair. And I was like, here's what I want to do. And you're like, okay, I'll step out of the race, right? I stepped into the race, and you're like, okay, I'll step out of the race. And I was like, good, because you're coming on that team, right?
Well, I think it's a really easy decision. I mean, I stepped in the race because at that time I felt like I was the best man for the job. Mm-hmm. And then you came along and you're a better man for the job. And I said, I'm no longer the best man for the job. I'll step aside. And I think that's what we lack in this party is to go like, I recognize that this is probably a better fit in this position than I am.
But when we went through that, then we went straight to the attacks. And it was, oh my gosh, now Joe's not going to be running the state. Now he's going to be running and making sure that we have a party. And then the place freaked out. Excuse me, a small group of people freaked out. I call them the mean girls, freaked out. And that's been going on. But as I got into the party and I was at the assembly, Jason, I started seeing that there's so much straight to character. I hate this person because he likes Scott Bottoms and I like Victor Marks. I hate this person because, and it's so pervasive.
But this is where it goes back to like, what is the party's role? And the party's role in let's say the assembly is to conduct a free and fair election where every candidate has an equal opportunity to present their case in front of a voting body to choose who is going to be on the ballot. And going back to this, I mean, this is the party of election integrity. And this is the nonsense that we go, well, you need to trust us in order to reform elections, and this is what we put up.
Trust us.
Trust us.
Trust us.
Trust your Republican.
Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. I got it all handled. But you haven't won anything in 20 years. I mean, the state of Colorado was turned into a bucket of shit. I mean, am I wrong?
No.
And the same people that say, well, I have 20 years experience. Somebody said that today. I have 20 years experience. I was like, well, how'd that go? How's it going for 20 years? Oh, that's right. You don't have a party. You don't have donors. Nobody will give you money. And frankly, Republicans are dropping out of the Republican Party to go independent because they're embarrassed by what the party's become. And those same mean girls are allowed to stay.
I mean, what I tell all of my students is, just because something is legal doesn't make it right. Just because something is, just because you can doesn't mean you should. right? And then I also tell them this. I tell them, 99% right is still 100% wrong.
Yeah. So this all, I put up a post that talked about all by design to make the party look incompetent. And that conversation about that debacle that I did a thing, was like a 8-minute, 9-minute video driving back, stirred the debate. And then this person named Kelly Maurer calls herself a conservative analyst. She's a conservative analyst, works for a nonprofit. She's really, really smart. She's an anti-Trumper. She's works for Colorado Public Radio. Again, the leftist ideology of adapting the left came into full focus. And she put up this post. She says, okay, I'm going to start tweeting again. Let's start with something fun. How fast do we think the Republicans in Colorado will race to super minority at the Gold Dome of Sadness if hate peddler Joe Oltmann becomes chairman of the Colorado GOP? Pretty fast, right? Now, for those of you that don't know, the Colorado Republicans are already the super minority. just so we're clear.
But not legitimately the super minority. There is a difference. We still do not have a super minority by like
3.
It's a couple votes.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
But they can pass anything they want.
Oh yeah, they can ram anything through. The only thing that they can't really do is when Polis goes to veto something, they don't have the full support to override a veto. That's what they don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't even know who this person is, but I made this bet. And I said this. And the Dems show their faces and make themselves known. Go fish. The Republican Party is the super minority with no office, no donors, and a bunch of Dems like you trying to convince people you were the righteous ones as you slandered me. I tell you what, I'll bet you $20,000 I fixed the GOP, raised more money than the last 3 chairs have, and largely fixed the dysfunction while winning massively in November. I mean, you seem nice. You take the leftist talking points, slander me with leftist media, all while never accomplishing anything of value in your life. Everyone should definitely follow your lead. Put the 20,000 up, but you don't have the 20,000. What do you say? The only one that can fix this party is me. You sideline Dems betraying the people while using your mean girl tactics only make you look tone deaf and stupid. So this is a fight, bro. This is a fight. I wish I could do it in the woman's voice, though.
You can work on that. I think by and large, a lot of people in 24 came out to vote and they said, we want some element of common sense back in this country.
Yeah.
And the Republicans have this beautiful shot at being the party of common sense.
Right.
Right? This is the party, the People's Party.
Right.
We're going to restore an element of common sense. No, a human being cannot be a furry.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just simple stuff. And then you go back and you go, look, we need you to care less about social issues and more about what is in people's pockets and in the financial situation that we have in this country. And the Dems haven't adapted to that. And now we have a prime opportunity for other candidates to step in and win on that basis.
Yeah. Well, so I want to tell you about what the right does, what the left-right does, right? Because it's really important that we understand tactics of dog whistles. Super important. So she goes on to say some other things that then bring back into light the fact that I called for traitors to be hung. Can you please tell me what the punishment is for treason?
Death.
But I was being violent because I said that they committed treason, they should be hung.
Well, let's talk about the fact that our founding fathers say that if those in power continue to steal rights from the people have every right to do what? Overthrow the government.
Right.
So even if J6 was an insurrection, which is a joke to call it one, the people have the right.
They have an absolute right. But let's put it back up because I want you to hear this because she's a lifelong conservative. She says, if you call me a Democrat after dedicating my adult life and career to getting Republicans elected, by the way, that included Josh Salem. Just hold on to that, pause that. You know who Josh Salem is?
Yes.
Okay, so she's responsible for Josh Salem. Okay, let's go through this more. One, a government small enough to drown in a bathtub and working to keep all my guns, then tell me how successful you'll be in building the party. Good luck crowdfunding for your bet. Like everything else, I'm sure you'll pay up after working hard to put gallows on every corner. So then I had to respond. Because again, this is more of the leftist slander. Can you put up the response? No? Okay.
We'll find it.
Can we? We can't? What are we doing, guys? It's right underneath it. You just had to push more. Literally. Oh, okay. Okay. So I had to respond. Now, the reason why I'm going through this response is because it just shows you how pathetic and petty we have inside the party. And look, I'm going to call losers losers. You want to know why? Because we keep losing. And we keep accepting the fact that we want to put people in positions of trust and authority who like to lose. Let me just lose gracefully. I asked the question to Jeremy Goodall. I asked the question, I said, how many campaigns that you were the campaign manager, you were the consultant, did you win? And he's like, I said, if all of them is not the answer, then you're not the guy. He goes, well, I said, did you win any of them? He goes, I don't remember. I don't remember. I'm like, oh, that checks. I don't remember. I said, you were trash. You're a part of the party that we can live without. You parrot the leftist playbook and not intelligent enough or academic enough to understand the reality, the context of anything I've stated. You have given nothing. You're a loser that thinks you're important or that your narrow mind and selectivism is what anyone wants. I've given more money to fight for this community than you make in a decade. You run your mouth behind a nonprofit. It does nothing to advance what the people want. The state is in shambles behind your mean girl, lack of talent group. Save me the conjecture. Everyone has heard it before. But as an assignment, why don't you tell me, people, what the penalty is for treason? Let me do it for you since facts are hard. Death. The treason against the people is not a victimless crime. Now sit down before you hurt yourself. 20 years you have had to make it better, and all you have is a club that all you and the club has done to destroy it, leftist. And anytime you want to take the $20,000 challenge and put the money into an account, hell, you believe in using others' money to do the work, just tell your worthless organization you work for to put the money up.
She works for Colorado Public Radio.
I think so.
Oh yeah, they just got defunded by the federal government.
I think so.
They don't have any money.
Yeah, I mean, she works for an organization. Yeah, she's the one that put up Josh Salem, the crazy guy that ran around the state of Colorado, threatening people and doing pictures of guns. Right? These are the types of people that think that they are the righteous majority. This is the problem that we have, is that the mean girls are the passive-aggressive individuals. I mean, I saw it today where someone asked a question, and they said, you're a low IQ. She goes, my IQ is 153. And again, you have people that are like, oh, you move the decimal point. Petty people that can't have a conversation about the facts.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what took place and what transpired on Saturday, from the incompetency, you said it was planned incompetency, and it very well could be, right? There's a clear and obvious attempt to try to get rid of the caucus and assembly system. It does exist. They've been trying to get rid of it for a long time. It's also not a partisan issue. It's actually a bipartisan issue. The Democrats want to keep the caucus and assembly system as well. And so we have essentially Kent Theory and his gang coming in to try to rewrite how elections work in this state. He just failed in November. We beat the crap out of him. And he's going to be at it trying again. And he's the one that brought the open primaries to begin with.
But that's the exact reason why they don't want me running the party. We fix the party. We fix the party. We fix the caucus. Fix the assembly. Make it so that people are forced to get along. Build ROEs. Get donors to feel like they have a safe landing. They come in and their money actually goes somewhere. Build systems that allow for the party to support itself. Make sure that the people who are in positions are paid for it. I certainly won't get paid, but we'll have a paid party that actually does the work that it's supposed to do. People show up to make sure they can advance the things that need to be done for the party, for the people. Forget the party for a minute. The party is a mechanism that should stand for the ethical values of the community, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so if that's the case, we should be the largest lobbyist group, largest special interest group that sits on the legislator's front doorstep and says, "This is what the people want." And we can do that from a position of trust and authority for all people, because we're looking out for the better interest of people that didn't say, "Hey, raise my taxes, take more from me, treat me like a slave, and oh, by the way, I need a daddy." They wouldn't do any of that, would they?
No. We're talking about 2,080 delegates, maybe 2,180 delegates. We're not quite sure how many delegates, but this is not a large group of people, Joe.
Right.
Like, it's not that hard. I ran the Congressional District 5 Assembly. We had 500 delegates.
Well done, by the way. That was well done.
And we were in and out of there in an hour and 5 minutes. Speeches, everything, done, right? It is not hard to check in 2,000 people. It should not be this complicated. I think the actual amount of delegates were 3,000, which means 1,000 people didn't show up, which is something we should talk about as well. But I think the total number of available delegates to the state assembly was somewhere around 3,000 people. It doesn't take 5 hours to check in 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And by the way, I personally watched at least one medical emergency. It actually looked like 2 were being taken away from the line with medical emergencies standing in that what was cold and then heat in those lines.
Okay, so just so you know, John Caldera runs the Independence Institute. He's an independent. He's not a Republican. You have this Kelly Maurer person that I just got in this argument with online, who runs an organization called Restoring Standards, right? So Restoring Standards, this is a person, by the way, who's never accomplished a thing in her life, not a simple thing, nothing. Now, she was on a show last night with Caldera, where they basically slandered Dave Williams and Hope Schepelman and said Dave used party funds for his congressional campaign that Hope knew and covered it up, right? Let me ask you a question. Do you think that ever happened?
No.
And it didn't. And it didn't. It would have been a campaign violation. It would have cost him tens of thousands of dollars if it did. And I promise you, the Democrats in the state of Colorado would have trampled on it in order to do everything they could to destroy people that were running the party, because that's what you want to do. You want to create some sort of cold weather that makes it impossible for people to want to get involved in something because the risk is too high. It's the lawfare.
Well, and you got to look, right? You said the Democrats would have trampled on it. But what's really interesting when you look at like the Ron Hanks race back in 2024, where the Democrats poured millions of dollars trying to get Ron Hanks through the primary, right? This is what's going to continue to happen, is you're going to see the Democrats trying to bolster up the weakest Republican in order to have an easier candidate to beat in the general election. I'm actually kind of shocked that they didn't spend money in CD5 on behalf of Dave Williams, but it's an interesting playground that we have and that we're currently functioning in. And that's not to say that I believe Ron Hanks was a weaker candidate or Dave Williams was a weaker candidate, but that's how the Democrats looked at it.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and find that video right now. It's on John's Devil's Advocate, which I was on about 4 years ago. But you have an independent that's sitting down with another person that says they're conservative, standing up for conservative values, and is slandering 2 people who have been as part of the apparatus and tried to make it better. Dave ran a rather successful assembly when he was the chair, and now these people get out on a radio show and they do everything they can to change the mind of people that are a part of the system. By the way, I'm just getting this. Leslie, thank you for sending me that. I appreciate it. Thoughts? Did I phrase that in a statement?
You phrased that in a statement. There was no question there.
Sorry.
I don't really know what the question is.
So Jason and I have been spending a lot of time together because we've been building out the models and doing the things that are necessary in order to set things in motion before we take over the party, which it's been fun. It's been fun to spend time with you collectively. I did put up a post. I want to go further for what Ashley Epp put up. So Ashley, by the way, incredible individual, libertarian, but in the Republican Party. He's done a fairly good job of being, she's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met. I'm just going to tell you. Have you met Ash?
I have met her once.
Oh my gosh, she literally is like a walking. I thought I was a walking. See, I'm a walking encyclopedia of worthless information. She's a walking encyclopedia of good information, and she has it right up front and personal. So she put up a post. So then I responded on her post. Let me just say this: designed to make Republicans look incompetent, all for the purpose, all by leftists running the party. And Ash said apparently they can't even tell you who made the ballot at the GOP assembly because they have 80 more ballots than delegates. Whew. But underneath this, so then I put that up. Oh, and then I got told that statements like this, those are why you're not qualified to run the party. If you alienate half the party because you think they may be less squishy than you'll never win elections or raise money. Then he calls me Mr. Old Man. It's time to let the younger minds run the GOP. What is my mission, Jason?
To get young people involved.
Okay.
To get people young Republicans
How in the
involved.
world do you get young people involved with people like this who run assemblies less efficiently than I think you could run, that Somalis could run it?
People value their time, right? Like, people value their time, and they want to know that what they're giving their time to is actually making a difference. And I think candidate aside, and that's why I have so many issues with certain portions of how this assembly was run. It doesn't matter who I support for governor. It doesn't matter who I support for AG. It doesn't matter who I supported for congressional districts or who I supported for Senate. I want a fair and accurate election. I want a fair and accurate tally.
Yeah.
And I want a
You should
level of
expect that.
transparency. And I expect a level of transparency. I expect that I am not wasting my time sitting in a building for 14 hours and then having my vote maybe or maybe not counted properly. The people around me maybe or maybe not tallied properly. And then, essentially, yes, I did take that photo. I took the photo of the USB drive. Even in the teller committee rules, it did not say that you couldn't take pictures from outside the teller committee, only inside the teller committee. It was never a voted on rule. Maybe I could have used a different strategy in terms of trying to get their arbitrary rule thrown out. But either way, I said, you know what? This is about transparency. The teller committee chair doesn't want to come back out to answer my questions. And so I'll take a picture of it. And there you go. You had a picture of a USB drive. I want to know why the USB drive is there. Nobody's given me an answer. In fact, somebody that I trust in terms of election integrity, she said, everything was good. And it very well could have been. It still doesn't answer the question why there's a USB drive in one of the machines that wasn't operating earlier in the day but happened to be operating later in the day, that there was somebody in the room that acknowledged there was an issue with that machine all along.
Yeah.
So yes, I broke the rules.
So then you broke the rules, but
Arbitrary rules.
Yeah, arbitrary rules. So I want to go back to this real quick because I did respond to him and called him a clown. And people will say, well, Joe, you're mean to people. You have somebody that literally is disrespectful to people. They walk into the comments, they say disrespectful things, and then when they're done actually saying disrespectful things, which is odd for me, you tell them to beat it, and you give them reasons, and then they become the victim. They become the victim. This is what we have in the Republican Party. And look, you've seen me. Someone comes at me, and I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, boop. I go right back. And then I'm like, all right, let's sit down and talk. And then I sit down and talk, and they're like, oh, well, now I feel like I was wrong.
Well, and then there's this whole idea. People go, well, Joe's just going to do what he wants. He doesn't listen to anybody. I can personally tell you there's multiple times where I've sat in the room and gone, Joe, I think you're wrong. And sure, Joe will go be like, no, that's not. And then he's like, well, actually, you know what? You might have a point. Like, we have decent conversations in order to get to the finish line. And it's a process that we work through. But to think that Joe is not open-minded, I mean, that's just that's absurd as well.
Well, the thing is that and then we both get overruled. We call it third party.
Like, sometimes.
We're like this. We're like, yeah, we'll do this. This is a great idea. Let's do this. And then we call someone and they're like, that's the dumbest idea ever. And we're both looking at each other like, that I want to go. I want to phone a different friend. But this is the fun part of it. This is the part that should be fun, the innovating and the creating opportunity and dreaming a big dream and trying to figure out ways to get other people involved, get young people involved. And then today happened. I had a terrible Thursday. It was an awful Thursday. You know about my Thursday. And I don't want to talk about my Thursday, but it was awful. Like, it was an awful day from end to end. And I sat in the room and I asked Jason, because he gives of his time too. Comes up, we're doing all this planning. He's got a business to run. I got a business to run. Actually, I stepped out as a CEO, so I have less of a business to run than I did before. But I still have duties that I have to get done, right? So, but we're sitting there, and I was like, how in the world do you get anything done when everyone's fighting everyone? And I must have, 5 phone calls? All five people didn't like each other, right? It was like bing, 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 bing. And I'm like, and I'm telling them to call this person, call this person. I just did it with 2 people today, right? 2 people today. I got people fighting on social media. 2 people I respect going at each other. So I sit in there and I'm like, John's a good person. I'm like, Brian's a good person. Scott's a good person. Stop it. And then both of them settle down long enough after eviscerating each other in the comments. And I just got sent the text message that they're going back and forth calling each other brother. And I'm like, that is what it's all about.
I think it goes back to a playing field, right? Like, understanding that in general, the Republican Party is a marketplace of ideas.
Right.
And that's kind of
Should
how
be.
our country
Yeah.
is as well. It's a marketplace of ideas. And there's a playing field that takes place, and there's rules of engagement within that playing field that allows for everybody to have their voice heard and for everybody to get a chance to make a suggestion or whatever. It does not mean that we have to agree. I sent Joe a message the other day. I said, just because a diplomatic process doesn't end up in a diplomatic solution doesn't negate the process. And Joe said, we'll post it online. So I did. I posted it in the chat. I said, just because you didn't end up with a solution that was quote unquote diplomatic doesn't mean that the process to get there was negated. And I think that's what we lose, is we lose the fact that, like, you and I can disagree. I can disagree with a handful of you all, but the fact is that if we go through a process where you feel heard and I feel heard and we take it to the body and they make a choice, well, we've still gone through that diplomatic process. We just might not have any sort of diplomatic negotiation that comes up in a quote unquote bipartisan solution.
Yeah. But these same people, by the way, that you can't get to a solution because they're too busy dog whistling you, saying you're crazy, saying you're going through stuff. You've now spent quite a bit of time with me. Am I crazy?
No.
Am I? You've seen all the people interact with me in my company. Are they crazy? They must be crazy. So,
Nope.
I mean, Lynn's been my assistant for 13 years almost. I mean, people stick around. It's really weird. It's strange. They bring me food.
100%. I ate some of that food. It was very good food. I don't know where it's from, but I want more of it.
But they've known me. Some of them were clients that retired and said, I'm going to come work for you. Others have been with me for a long time, right? I run a successful. I mean, is this a mirage? Is this a mirage for you?
No.
Is it?
I mean, these walls are on casters.
They're on casters. They are.
They're on casters. They do move.
This is true, but it is not a mirage. It's still wood. All right. So this, I didn't get a chance to go through it yet, and I'm not sure I want to spend it, but Independence Institute decided to say the crazy people are taking over politics, and this Maurer person, is now the voice of reason for the Republican Party. Now, I want you to understand something. When you control the vernacular, when you tell people to move back towards the middle, what you're saying is, shut up, sit down, and we will tell you what to do. Am I wrong?
Nope.
All right. Today, I got a phone call. Actually, yesterday I got a phone call from Michelle Gray. Michelle Gray is the only person in the state of Colorado that was able to turn her entire county, Pueblo, Colorado, red. She has the same issue with the Mean Girls. She called me yesterday and she goes, I watched your video and it was compelling. She goes, I want to have a conversation with you because everyone said you're a bad man. That was her message. And when I got on the phone with her today, she reiterated it very clearly and succinctly. She goes, I was told that you're a bad man. And I go, okay, what makes me bad? Just ask the question, what makes me bad? And she goes, I don't know, because they couldn't tell me. They just said you're a bad man. So she asked again. She goes, what makes Joe bad? What'd he do? Because I asked. She goes, I don't know. And I was like, okay, let me tell you a little bit about me. And I went, brrr, I rattled it off. And I go, what part of that makes me bad? Tell me, what part of that makes me bad? And she's like, I don't, that's why I had to call you. I'm like, okay, now you have everyone, you have your vice chair and everyone else, bonus members. I'd like to have a meeting with all of you. And you can ask me any question you want. We can go through the whole thing. But after the conversation was over, guys, pull down the video that I did, if you would, on Facebook just about an hour ago. Thank you. But I felt compelled. Did I have a script?
Nope. I was standing in the room.
Yeah. I had the conversation. I finished the conversation. I looked at you, looked at the other person that was in my office. Actually, in the conference room, I wasn't even in my office. And I said, I have to do a video, guys. You're going to have to give me a minute. And I proceeded to do a 11-minute video off the cuff. Now, the reason why this is important is because the amount of slander that Jason went through, that now I'm going through, that other people are going through, the amount of this character assassination that happens in the Republican Party is the reason why we are left with candidates that are less than desirable. Would you call them less than desirable?
I would agree.
Because nobody wants to go through the fight. Why would you subject yourself to people who want to assassinate your character all day long? I mean, all day long. I mean, this is the new rules. The rules are not, there is no decorum. And in the middle of it, they'll say things like, you know, you're a violent person. I'm capable of great violence. I'm going to tell you right now, I absolutely am. But I don't choose violence. People that have been in violent situations don't choose violence. People that have been in places, things that are really, really bad, they don't choose violence, ever. Do you have that video, by the way? Okay, so we're going to play this 11-minute video because it'll allow us, me and Jason, to take a break. We'll listen to it while we're taking a short break. But this is the 11 minutes off the cuff talking about what is happening. Now, I will tell you that there are multiple people from Illinois, Alabama, and other states that said that sounds exactly like the GOP. I think there's a national effort underway to undermine and destroy the GOP, and I think it's a group of people that have been operating for a long time. These are the Victor Marsh got one thing right. He said the Democrats have actually infiltrated the Republican Party, and I believe that is true. I believe they come in with the idea, like this Kelly Maurer deal, and let's destroy the caucus, let's destroy the voice of the people, let's get to a place where we get to pick who goes to be the candidate, which, by the way, is not a process that our forefathers envisioned or put in place. But they want to destroy everything that's good about it, and the fear they have for me and my team to come in and help rebuild and restabilize the party is that now the nervousness sets in. Now it sets in. Let's go ahead and play it. I think I'm live. Don't know yet, but we'll get started anyway. I know it's recording. So I've been at work now since 6:30 this morning, and got on the Ryan Schuling's show on 6:30 K now for iHeart, and talked about what happened on Saturday specifically. Now I want to talk to you about what's been going on all day. Look, I don't know how anyone gets anything done inside the Republican Party. I had the most amazing conversation with Michelle Gray. She is the Pueblo County chair of the Pueblo County Republican Party. And she called me and she said, Joe, people have told me you're a bad guy. And I said, okay, tell me what makes me a bad guy. She goes, well, they couldn't tell me. They just said you're a bad guy. So I went through and had a conversation with her. And at the end of it, because people have told me that Michelle Gray is bad, and I was like, yeah, I don't believe that. She's turned the entire county of Pueblo red. And you don't do that. And I got to find out a bunch of stuff about Michelle Gray. And that you need to know. One, she was a school teacher. If any of you guys know anything about me, you know that it was a school teacher that changed my life, changed the trajectory of my life going back. And it wasn't immediate, but that teacher did everything to me that made me realize that there was potential there in my life, right? Way back when. Now, fast forward. Through the conversation, I just sat and listened to Michelle talk about some of the strife that she's had inside the party, and that you have these people inside the party that frankly make judgment calls. Same thing I've been saying all along, make judgment calls based upon a disagreement in either philosophy or party direction, or even something as simple as how a meeting could be run. And from there it becomes, you're a bad guy. So let me just tell you about the Republican Party in Colorado. It's near non-existent. We have turned this into a middle school food fight. And I have no appetite for it. I don't have any appetite for us sitting here slugging it out in the middle of the street. This morning I had to get in the middle of a conversation with two men that I believe are good people. They're really good people. They were making judgment calls on the fact that they didn't like each other because they had a difference of opinion. We are going to have differences of opinion, okay? We're going to. And if that is the indicator of whether or not someone's good or bad, if they believe the same thing you do, then you're the problem, not them. We've got to get to a place where we become tactical, where we tactically make changes inside the organization to make sure we can support our candidates. Even if it's a candidate you don't like or that I don't like, if the people decide that that's our candidate, then we get behind that candidate. This is not hard. We have made this extremely difficult, and it doesn't need to be that way. And anyone that has run a large business understands that the donor class itself has been run off. There is no safe landing for a donor. Why would a donor give to a party that does nothing but infight with itself? And all I see on these posts is Joe calls someone out. Joe calls someone out. Joe calls someone out. Joe wants to call people names. He called them a retard. He did this. I'm a guy that cares enough to get into the party and say, listen, we've got to get to the place where we have substance, where people want to be here. But having people inside of the county party or the state party that make it miserable for people to want to get involved, it's not right. You don't have a right to destroy an environment for young people. You don't have a right to destroy an environment for other people to be involved in the process. That's not what this is supposed to be about. And if we want to go back to when it did function, which I think it only functioned through the Reagan era, where you had true leadership that stood up and said, hey, listen, just don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. It's really simple. It's an easy way to run things. But here's what I got out of talking to Michelle Gray. She has a deep desire to serve. She has a deep desire to serve the people inside of Pueblo and to make it so that we have better representation in the legislature, in Denver, and the people that have to go to Washington to represent us there. She truly cares about people. And yet, you have people that run around saying bad things about her. You have people that are running around saying, I'm a bad guy. How am I a bad guy? Tell me how I'm not a bad guy, please. And you want to know why people don't want to run for office in the Republican Party? Because everyone wants to go out and eviscerate everyone inside of the party. This person's bad, this person's bad. Why would you get involved in it? Why would you get involved in it? If the purity test is that you had to live a perfect life, then we should have a bunch of Jesuses that are running for office right now. But that's not the case. That's not the case. People are going to make mistakes. Young people are going to make even more mistakes. And you know what? I am mortified at the idea that we will bring young people into this party and we will have people in the party that literally eviscerate them because they didn't decide to go the direction they told them to go. Can you imagine that? Imagine if you lived your life and every time you turned around, someone came and hit you with a stick because you went into a 7-Eleven, not a Quick Mart. That's the equivalent of what we're dealing with right now. So I'm going to challenge all of you. I don't think that the other candidates can fix the party, because I don't think the other candidates are willing to talk the way I'm talking right now. I don't think they have the stomach for what needs to get done, and they certainly will not spend as much time devoted to making sure we can build back our donor class while making sure we have a functional government inside of how we run the Republican Party. Nobody's going to make the 64 chairs stakeholders at the table, and no one's going to listen more to the Republicans that try to recruit new people into the party itself. If you're trying to shrink the party and make it inefficient and hand over the keys to the evil on the radical left, we're doing a really, really good job. But if you want to do something that actually drives success inside this party, then you got to start acting like you're an adult in the room. And we got to be an example for these young people coming in that, frankly, they dealt with this stuff in high school. You think they want to jump back into the frying pan to deal with it again? I promise you they don't. So if you have something you want to say and you want to have a conversation with me, call me. Pick up the phone and call me. Pick up the phone and call me. Don't walk around and act like the mean girls and tell everyone that, oh, this person's bad. I'll have a conversation with anyone. And we can do it face-to-face. You can come to my office, go to a coffee shop, we can do whatever. But I'm sitting here talking to other people that are in the Republican Party, and everyone is fatigued. Everyone. And just having conversations today, I'm fatigued. But here's why I'm hopeful. As of this morning, over 3,700 emails that have come in to say one thing. Joe, I moved to be an independent because I could not stand what was happening in the party. If you go over and take over that deal, I'll get in. I'll get in. And to those people, I responded pretty simply. I not only want you to get back in the Republican Party, but I need you to contribute. I either need to contribute time or I need you to contribute finances. Those are the two things that you can do inside the party. We're going to build this as a party of volunteers, but we're also going to have a paid staff. We're going to have people that get paid to do the work that they do, because nobody should be abused. Volunteers should not be abused by you because you want to punch them in the face when they're giving of their time for free. And 99% of the time, the people that are pushing the punches and punching volunteers that are working for free, those same people never gave $1 to the Republican Party, number one. And two, they don't volunteer. So they sit on the sidelines and they throw as much as they possibly can at people while never contributing the things that are necessary in order to make the party successful. If you want to do things the way they've been done over the last 25 years, as I just said on somebody's post, go ahead. You got one shot though. You want to fix the party? I'll fix the party. And everyone's deathly afraid that I'm going to put some rules in place that stop people from being cancers and treating people badly. I am. So if you want to just do it as usual and shrink the party and make it this party of I don't even know, a bunch of broke people that sit on the sidelines because they actually can't support the candidates they're putting in office, where nobody else says, they say, I'll just move out of Colorado. There's no hope for Colorado. Because I want you to know one thing. The entire country sees Colorado as the laughingstock. The laughingstock. And we can go from the laughingstock to one of the most successful GOPs in the entire country. And we can build a blueprint, not like what they did on the radical left, but an ethical, moral blueprint that allows people to say, I want to be a part of whatever that is you're doing. And yes, I want to make sure that if we're having young people run towards the fire, that's what you need to be in order to be successful. So anyway, I got to go get on the podcast. I got to finish having a conversation with Jason and Ryan. But I got to tell you, at the end of the day, you just got to make a decision what you want. Yes, the elections are stolen all over the country. Yes, they're all fraudulent. If they use a machine of Dominion, ESNS, it doesn't matter what it is. They're all fraudulent. And the fact that they keep doubling down on it should tell you everything you need to know about the people in power. And if you want to change the people in power and you want to make it about the people and make this the People's Party, I'm all in. You want to make it a fighting ground for a bunch of 2-year-olds, I have no interest. And neither should you. and neither should you. You should be ashamed of the fact, if you're a part of this process, you should be ashamed of the fact that you've done the things that you have in order to push people away from the party. That's not. I guess that's the new. There is no hate like a Christian's love, I guess. And if that's an indictment, you should take that to heart. Because at some point, we got to get to the place where we fight like warriors against the evil, not against each other. All right, God bless you. I'll see you guys later. All right, so what do you think of that? What do you think of the... Oh, you were there.
Well, I was there, but your closing thought of there is no hate like a Christian's love. I mean, my gosh, like you should be a pastor standing on a stage right now giving that message. Because oftentimes I think we conflate so many different ideas when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to holding people accountable, when it comes to accountability amongst Christians, and then when it goes to looking at the outside world and looking at our culture.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, we're talking about like taking Christianity out of it and just looking at the Republican Party. Just not to say that Christianity shouldn't be in the Republican Party. That's not what's coming out of my mouth. But looking at the fact that we're all brothers and sisters in this team of the Republican Party. I think it's time that like we start giving everybody a voice again, and I think that's when we get the younger audiences to step up and be involved. Is when they feel like they're not just going to be land blasted for speaking up.
Yeah, we and it's typically the weakest people that act that way. It's typically the weakest people that are the ones that hurt and hit the most, and do so from behind a screen, right? When they get in person, Nick Razzo, whatever his name is, the guy that came up and like, Nick. You brought him up, by the way.
I listen. Yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen. Okay,
it's crazy.
And actually, I mean, like you have to give him a little kudos because he went after you not behind a screen, Joe. I mean, give him a little bit of credit for that.
Oh no. He did so because he wanted an audience and he wanted me to do something to him, right? So he basically picked at me, and he started with that I'm an insecure man, and I'm thinking to myself, okay. At first I was like, okay, I'm done. Okay, yeah, okay, you're right. No, yeah. And he kept going. Then finally I was like, just get away from me, because he kept getting closer and closer, right? And I said, get away from me. I said it 2 more times, and then I looked at Micah, and I was like, Micah, get this guy away from me. So then he gets in Micah's face. That's the wrong guy to get in his face. Would you agree? Micah's kind of a...
Yeah, but he's controlled. I think he handled it extremely well.
Yeah.
You know, civility is utterly lacking.
It's evolved to but we don't have this in business, by the way. I just want you to know, you could never get away with that stuff in the business world. You can't get away with it. You do that in the business world, they'll just cut you off. Get out. We're done with you, right? And this shows you just why these people are not successful in their lives. They're either one, they've watched a party that has degraded to nothing. They were a part of it and did nothing. They did nothing. And I want to give you something that I think that people don't understand. You were the vice chair and the chair of your House district.
No, the congressional district.
Congressional district. His wife died.
Yes.
Super good dude.
Yes.
And he had to step aside, so you ran the meeting.
Yes.
You told everyone up front, I don't want to see any point of order or shenanigans, right?
We didn't even do that. We ran the meeting in such a way that, number one, it was fully transparent. Number two, there was people from every side of the party involved, and so nobody had an issue. Number three, everybody had a voice in the planning meetings, and we had several planning meetings. Mm-hmm. And everybody felt comfortable enough to raise an objection before the meeting took place, to question what was going on, to make sure, triple check that our credentials were correct. Everything that took place before the meeting actually started was so on point. And some of these people are people that I don't agree with, right? Like I ultimately didn't choose my team,
right,
for this assembly. I think that's a very important lesson to be learned. I didn't choose my team. I worked with my team as well as I possibly could. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like it was a weird situation. I'm not the chair. I was handed over the reins of the assembly, but there was already portions of a team in place. We're there to make sure that we have a free and fair election, and we did that job, and it went off just seamlessly.
Yeah, it was seamless, and it was an hour and a half.
Hour and 5 minutes. The funny thing is, so it would have been an hour, okay?
But I got up.
No, it wasn't even you. So it would have been an hour. I get the initial credentials report. We read the initial credentials report, and then I allow
500 people.
It's like 500 people. I think there was 380.
How long did it take you to get through the credentialing?
There was never a line. Not once did I see a line. And I fed all my volunteers with Chick-fil-A breakfast sandwiches.
True story.
So we get up on stage, I give the credentials report, and then we allow candidates to talk. We allow them to talk for 90 seconds apiece. The candidates get done, and at that point, we're already elevating alternates. The candidates get done, and I'm waiting for a credentials report as we elevate alternates. And so I said, hey, we're going to stand in recess for 5 minutes. And I gavel the meeting to recess. And the minute I lay down the gavel, I see my credentials chair bust through the door walking towards me. And she comes up and she goes, here's your final credentials report. And I'm like, well, I just called a recess. I was like, it's okay, I'll give people their 5 minutes. So in fact, if I didn't call that recess, we would have been in and out of there in 1 hour.
But I still was 5 minutes.
No.
Of the meeting.
No, you went over. You were about 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah, I said I'm going to take more time. This is where I do break the rules. I'm like, I'm going to take a little bit more time. They're like, okay, which was pretty good. Whew. So speaking of that, we have some stuff that is, I want to talk about in Colorado because we're going to focus on Colorado. My point is this: every GOP is facing the same problems. And one of the things that you did is one of the things that we've talked about is that you have these different factions, and you have to bring those different factions together. You got to go. They all have to have a voice. All have to have a seat at the table.
It's not only the GOP.
Yeah.
The same issues that we see with the GOP, the Democrats are facing. You see, there's two wings of the Democrat Party too, and we watched this play out the same way it played out in the Colorado GOP with the Democrats not too long ago.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you 1,000 billion%. What I'm saying is that we can actually get people to the table and get things accomplished if people are at least given a voice, if we can eliminate the mean girl behavior of questioning somebody's integrity and or their character because they don't agree, right? If those rules of engagement are put in place, because it can be enjoyable. It can be enjoyable. It absolutely can be enjoyable. But this tribalism that we create inside of our environment is dangerous. It's dangerous to, well, you can see what it's done in Colorado. It's turned us into a hot boiling mess.
I think that this is, by and large, I'm in politics because I think it's fun. And I think many people are in politics because they at least get some sort of sense of enjoyment out of it, but also because they feel like they have some sort of responsibility to the party or to the country, which is the other reason why I'm involved in politics. But, I mean, why can't you have a really fast credentialing committee where you get everybody in the door, and then when you're counting the ballots by hand on the stage, you have an artist that comes in and plays. You have a halftime show while you're waiting for the teller committee to finish. Why can't we have a party? Why can't we have fun?
Yeah, so that leads me, by the way, to this. We can't have fun, right? We can't have fun. And the reason why we can't have fun is because everything is so serious. Like, we have fun when we hang out.
Yeah.
And we don't agree with everything. He didn't agree with me. We have other people in the group that don't agree with each other. Heck, we had a Democrat that infiltrated or true Democrat, infiltrated the assembly. And I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? Hi, Tricia, how are you? And everybody's like, get her out of here. I'm thinking to myself, well, if we do it right, this shouldn't be a problem. Why wouldn't you? They can't participate, right? Stop having a heart attack, man. You're going to have a heart attack over.
But we were asked the question, right? I was asked the question, Jason, what do you want to do with the Democrats if they show up to the CD5 assembly? I said, well, pull them aside. I'll talk to them really fast. And, so long as they're not going to be a disruption, why shouldn't they see the process, right?
You might convert them.
Let them in. Let them in.
You might convert them.
Same with the media, right? But part of the problem is, and I go back to ranked choice voting. I ran the opposition campaign for ranked choice voting. Everybody goes, why do you think you ran? Why do you think you won? That's the question I'm asked all the time. And I always say, earned media. Very simple, earned media. I had $13,000. Kent Theory was spending millions of dollars. We had a debate on the stage at Denver University that was covered by 70 Colorado media outlets. It was covered in every side, every part of the state. I didn't have a single day where I did not have a media inquiry from someone in Colorado or across the country covering ranked choice voting. It was earned media. And the thing about it is we can't give the media anything positive to write about from the Colorado GOP. I mean, hell, at this point, we should be going getting teddy bears and passing them out at the children's hospital so we have any sort of positive media coverage at all.
Yeah. Well, I think if we start becoming more focused in on principle and on tactics, right? How do we become mission focused? A lot of that will take care of itself. But this is not unlike any other state. And what is unlike any other state is that we are actually captured by a system that literally has the most fraudulent elections in the history of elections across the country. Every part of the elections is fraudulent. Every part. Every part. And now, here's something that's happened. This is a ballot initiative in Colorado Springs that is underway to get this approved. I want your thoughts on this. Play it.
By putting 195 on the ballot, we are giving voters a chance to say yes to cutting taxes for the 97% of Coloradans making less than $500,000 a year, to increasing taxes on only the wealthiest Coloradans and the largest corporations, and raising $2 billion a year for education, healthcare, and childcare.
Okay, so let me just tell you what this is. This is a tax to run out the rest of the companies out of Colorado and get to a place where you have by the way, they tried this in Detroit back in the late 1980s, early 90s. Any idea what happened in Detroit?
I mean, I think they lost pretty much all their manufacturing and never got it back.
They've never gotten it back. And do you know where Flint, Michigan is? It used to be a hub for the auto industry.
It's now a hub for Narcan.
Yeah, you can't drive through Flint, Michigan. If you drive through Flint, Michigan, and you see a light, the light is a suggestion. If you stop for that light, you will be shot.
Just like Gary, Indiana, and parts of St. Louis.
So in 2019, the city of Detroit changed this tax structure to allow for businesses to come back. But that was after they ran the entire state or entire city into complete disrepair. So now you have something underway that this is what it would do. It would create multiple tax brackets based on income level for individuals, estates, trusts, and corporations. Lower and middle class earners, roughly the bottom 97% of taxpayers, would see tax cuts or little change. You mean little change? No change. You get to pay what you're paying now, right? So this is that thirst for the government to take more. This is why I say that the people need a party. The people need a Republican Party, not the party of the KKK, which is the Democrats, not the party of genocide, which is the Democrats, not the party of let's throw everyone in jail for minor offenses, Democrats. By the way, all the judicial appointments, Democrats. Reason why you got people going to jail for small crimes, Democrats. So if you want the slave trade, it's the Democrats. But if the People's Party is what the People's Party should be, it should be real easy to say that they're just trying to take more meat off the bone. The government, the Democrats, are trying to take more off the bone than they should take.
So I was listening to the debate up at the Colorado legislature, and one of the Democrats said, "We're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're taxing Peter equitably to lift Paul out of poverty." And I thought, yeah, that about sums up what the liberal lefts think of taxation. And the problem becomes is that you can ask pretty much every American, is double taxation constitutional? And all of them will tell you no. Well, how many times is your dollar being taxed throughout this country? You can't even count them, right? You have an income tax, but then you get charged sales tax and a tax on your property. And then you get taxed on your retirement. And then you get taxed if you pull out portions of your retirement, depending upon how your retirement is structured. And you get taxed if you have corporate gains, or you get taxed if you sell your house too soon, or if you sell your house too long. You could just start making stuff up, and more than likely you're probably accurate in terms of the taxes that exist. But you are taxed over and over and over and over and over again. And God forbid you choose to do something that the Democrats feel is, well, not right for the rest of us. So if you want to smoke cigarettes, you're going to be taxed more than if you want to smoke marijuana. But don't worry, you can consume all the alcohol you want and you'll be okay. But if you go up to the city of Boulder, you're going to be taxed on your sugar intake. You can't make this stuff up anymore. And ultimately, at the end of the day, either double taxation is wrong or it's not. I mean, even boiling down to you pay parking meters in downtown Denver, but your tax money went to go pay for the roads that you're now paying to park on. It's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, it gets worse because the further you go down, that thirst and the things, they never get done. Yeah, have you driven on these roads? They're terrible. There's nothing that gets done by adding more taxes, nothing. They just put it in their coffers, pass it over to entitlements. The entitlements in Colorado represent nearly 40% of the budget. I was able to dig into that. That 40% goes to nonprofits and to corporations, for-profit corporations that do what are called pseudo-government objectives. So they are basically the ability to get past CORA requests or open records requests. You just push it off to this business over here. They're a private company, so even though they're doing a public good, they don't have to give up any of their records. And because you have a rotted judiciary and the judges are all pieces of trash, what you get is a system that seals up and steals from the people and creates a slave environment. The entire state of Colorado is a slave environment, just so you know. And the reason why Palantir left, is the reason why many people are leaving, is because the state is run by a bunch of, the founding fathers built it for us here in Colorado to overthrow tyranny, and that's what we're dealing with in the state of Colorado. Tyranny, people that were never elected, they were selected, everyone knows it, afraid to claw back on it. You should kick out all the judges, all of them. And now over the next couple of weeks, we're going to have an inside view into what's happening by a judge. Unbelievable. But let me just tell you where they said it's going to go. Can you go down a little bit so I can see the... There we go. So higher income earners, especially those make over 500,000, corporations would pay higher tax rates. So higher, it says especially those making over 500,000. So it could be those making over 100,000. It could be anything. The measure is projected to raise approximately $2 to $2.7 billion annually in new state revenue. So they need another 5% on top of the nearly 50% increase in budget that has happened just over the last 8 years.
Well, and it's to pay because now they have, what, a $4 billion deficit.
Yeah.
And where's all that money going? Well, it's going towards, you don't even want to know.
Yeah,
right?
We're actively looking for ways to move everything out of the state. Right? Everything.
I mean, can we give credit to Brandy Bradley for making them read that long appropriations bill, 661 pages?
Yeah.
I mean, big kudos to Brandy. Brandy, you're amazing. I approached some senators and said, hey, can you make them do it in the Senate too? Because we're talking about a 661-page bill that nobody's actually read through. And this is literally just funding all of these absolutely absurd portions of the Colorado government.
Yeah.
So we can pay for illegals instead of take care of the people that live in this state legally.
Yeah. Worse. They want to tell us it's going to be used on education. They want to tell us it's going to be used on health care and early child care and educational programs. But what they're not saying is it'll go to nonprofits so they can fund these radical leftists. The dollars will never, ever, ever hit the intended use because it was never intended to be there to begin with.
Well, there's no accountability within the school districts in terms of how much they spend on administrative budgets, how much they spend on their buildings. There's a school district in Colorado Springs that has a building. I was in there one time. I was coaching in, you know what, screw it, in D11. They have this Tesla building. So I'm inside there for some quote unquote continuing education. And I'm sitting there, and at one point I go, hey, what is this building for? And they go, well, you know, it's for teacher continuing education. And then we use the giant auditorium for meetings for the principals.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, how many theaters do you have in your school? How many gyms do you have in your school? Why do you need this building? And I said, well, how many kids do you serve in this building? And I think the response was 12, right? And they're like, we have 12 students that we serve in here in early childhood education, which means that they have a nursery that exists in that building. And I approached some of the school board members and I said, why haven't you sold this building? And all of them go, what are you talking about? What building? I'm like,
That's the
how?
problem.
How do you not know?
Therein lies the issue of several issues, not just the only issue. All right, so let's if we can, I'm going to switch gears a little bit on you, and you get to stick with me in going through this. I'm not going to probably talk about that. Well, do you want to talk about it?
I am more than happy to talk about it. It's completely up to you, Joe.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. You'll have to go over to my show to hear it then. Maybe.
That might be the case.
Might be.
But you put a picture up. Yeah, I'm not going to go through it.
Well, no, that picture is with the other videos. It's the whole story.
My problem is that, again, it puts us in a place where we're rehashing. I mean, you're welcome to rehash. I'm not sure it doesn't focus us right now. We can change it all. The assembly was a disaster.
We have a let me just talk from a perspective of what it looks like under a potential GOP administration with Joe at the helm. We have a right to a free and fair election. I think everybody can agree. We have a right to be able to be transparent. There should be transparency. There should be complete, open, and honest processes that take place. We should not be creating arbitrary rules. And when the body says, you know, we want to make sure that these results are auditable, the woman that you send up to that teller committee room to collect those ballots and make sure that there's a chain of custody, which, by the way, there was no chain of custody throughout the entire event, but to ensure chain of custody from the count back to the new Vice Chair Eric Grossman, when she is physically assaulted by a man that is wearing campaign materials, claiming to be a part of or a sergeant at arms for the teller committee with absolutely no credentials at all, lays hands on a woman and tries to steal her phone. I have a huge issue with that. And that's ultimately what these videos and pictures showed. This is not to go after any sort of campaign. It's not to go after a candidate. All it is to show that there was a clear and obvious issue at the assembly, and this is to never happen again.
When the whole idea of attacking a woman got me, especially who she is. She's a very nice person. She doesn't agree with me for everything, or most things, and I still think she's, should not have been subjected to it. Your call. You can play it. It's the last. I'll let you drive. You want to drive? You want to drive?
I mean, let's pull up that exchange between. Let's drive. Okay.
Let him drive. He's driving on the show.
We'll drive. I'm going to tell the story.
This is the Jason Lupo Show.
And I'm going to try to lead you down the evidence here in a second. But basically, I noticed that there was a USB drive. We talked about that earlier. I took a photo. Immediately, I start getting surrounded by, certain quote unquote volunteers, and then the sheriff's department and the school campus security. The campus security at Pueblo State University. Kudos, man. You guys are absolutely freaking awesome. I cannot say enough good things about the security at that event.
Yeah, because they had to babysit.
Well,
yeah, people got assaulted, people yelling at each other, people hitting each other with signs. I mean, come on. It was
respectful, didn't jump to conclusions. Anyways, Pueblo security, great job. All right, so afterwards, I'm sitting there and I'm monitoring what's going on outside of this room, and I see this big burly dude who had previously stood over the top of me yelling at me, now grabbing a woman reaching for her phone who's standing outside of the teller committee room. At that point, I stand up and I start filming. The gentleman notices that I'm filming, points to me, and sends the sheriff, Alec Hanna, and Pueblo Security to come confront me about filming. And I said, you can't even see inside the teller committee room from where I'm standing. I am filming this woman being assaulted over here. And so let's play that longer video exchange of what took place with my exchange with Alec Hanna.
The body passed that rule. We're obligated to enforce it.
The body didn't pass the rule. The body asked
The body
not
adopted
to
the rule.
suspend. No, because it wasn't in the rules of the actual assembly, if I recall. It did not say that there was no video or photography.
I believe they amended that to say that.
I don't think. I mean, I don't know. It's very hard to hear. This is not a very good system.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, I think it's how do you have a rule like what exactly does that mean? Is it at the window? Can I film over here?
What the spirit of it is they're concerned that someone's going to video and say, oh, because I can go on the back of the video, I know that candidate X has got, a good percentage.
Why is that an issue?
Because we do not...
you just had... Alex, I actually like you. I know who you are.
Thank you, sir. The concern is...
We have massive issues in this assembly, which I'm pretty sure that you're aware of. It took 5 hours to get inside the building. You had people that weren't really verified delegates that were here on Victor Marx's behalf. They were up on stage, they were cheering. They weren't delegates, they didn't have a vote, and yet we didn't do anything to control whether or not they had a vote or didn't vote in things like the rules or the adoption of the rules. Then on top of that, now we have 80 extra votes in a race.
Yes, sir, I understand.
We have some pretty big issues.
The issue, back to the spirit of it, what they don't want is because if the results are announced and it said X candidate did so-and-so in governor, folks would leave, and that would then potentially have impact the races that have potentially a runoff. And there might be another
happening, though. Come on, Alex.
So that is the spirit of the rule.
No, the spirit of the rule from your teller committee's mouth was that she didn't want any volunteers being doxxed. We're not going to change this midway through and pretend that the spirit of the rule is something different, because the spirit of the rule was literally defined as we're having this rule because we don't want any volunteers to be doxxed. So we can't then say that we don't want the filming because we don't want to, give people false information.
I wasn't in the arena for that part, at least I don't remember.
I'm just telling you. I think we're good. All right. So what took place is this woman. So
you can get lost in it otherwise. You're sitting.
I'll explain it. I'll break it all down for you. At one point, after there was 80 additional votes, where we didn't know where they came from, supposedly there's this credentialing issue. The body voted that Eric Grossman take control of these ballots afterwards. Eric Grossman assigns an awesome woman to go up and essentially grab those ballots as soon as they're done in the teller committee room. Now, the information that I have from within the teller committee room, which, by the way, I'm not going to dox any volunteers, so I'm not going to name names here, but the information was never relayed to Priscilla Ron or any of the volunteers within inside the teller committee room that this woman had the right to grab the ballots and to make sure that there was a chain of custody with these ballots after the count was finished. Something happened within the teller committee room, and the giant gentleman wearing the campaign gear physically escorted her out of this room. This is what I'm being told. Afterwards, this volunteer who has been assigned to take custody of these ballots is now outside of the window, and she now is getting harassed by the sergeant at arms that has now come out to try to steal her phone and has physically laid hands on her at the same time. And she is just doing what the body had requested, which was that Eric Grossman be able to retain those ballots and to be able to essentially run the audit on the election. Now, inside the teller committee room, we've heard of a number of stories of issues. One being that at one point, the campaign watchers were allowed to look at the computer screen, but then there was moments where they weren't allowed to look at the computer screen. And then they were allowed to look at the computer screen, but weren't allowed to look at the computer screen. It's just kind of an absolute mess. And ultimately, once again, it boils back down to the fact that, number one, nobody should ever lay hands on anybody in that situation. Number two, if you're at all a part of the teller committee, you should not have campaign gear on. And no paid staff of any candidate should be in that room, which there was paid staff in that room. And the volunteers within that room actually stated that the campaign manager of one of the governor candidates actually instructed Priscilla Ron what to do when the overvotes came out and how to handle the situation. And that's not okay. And I don't think there's anybody in here that can say that that's okay. And there's a reason why I haven't told you who the candidate is or who the volunteer is or anything like that. Because remember, we're not supposed to dox any volunteers. So we're not going to do that. And the candidate doesn't matter because it's about the fact that the whole situation should never have transpired that way. And it's not going to transpire that way under Joe's administration. And that's what makes sense. And that's what matters in this situation. Does that do enough to not drive?
Yeah, it's fine.
There
But Colorado's a mess, and we'll get to the bottom of being a mess, but I just want people to understand that be nice to people. Take zero time to be kind. Zero money to be kind. And we have people that are on the radical left side that, like, I mean, I'm a little upset over Caldera himself. Right, here's a guy that says he's an independent, he's in the middle, right? And he's not. He's not. He brings people on in order to discredit and to stand as this like shadow group to hurt people in the Republican Party. They want things to stay as they are, destroyed. That's what they want. They want Colorado to turn into Portland. They want Colorado to turn into the dregs of society. They want everything they touch, they have destroyed. And they have done so under the idea that they are academically better than everyone else. And the whatever her name is, Kelly Maurer. I mean, Kelly, let me just tell you something. If you want to debate with me, if you want to sit on this show and you want to debate with me and you want to talk to me about how you're a political person and that you're a strategist, you're not a strategist. You're a hack that works for an organization that has put people up on a position within the conservative movement who have turned out to be grossly embarrassments. I mean, she's responsible for Josh Salem. She is. Directly responsible. And if any of you guys know about Josh Salem, he was charged with a crime. And do I know he's a good guy or bad guy? I don't care. All I know is that, frankly, we've got some major issues inside the party. And part of the reason why Josh probably went off the deep end is because of all of this psychosis that is happening in the Republican Party that pushes people away. I don't know if that's the ultimate thing that led to it. But here's what I'll tell you. If we don't get to a place where we start having conversations like adults, it will devolve further. And if it devolves further, there's no telling what it'll turn into.
Well, and we have an issue of people don't want to be involved because they go, what's the point? And that's exactly the Democrat playbook, is to go like, you've lost this state. And I think that there's actually, I think that there's a huge wealth of people that have actually left the party because of whatever reason. But there's also a large percentage of independents in this state that did not have a choice to join either party because of the way that voter registration works in this state. And so, I would actually argue that there's probably significantly more conservatives than what any media group would ever give us credit for. And it's time to get them registered as Republicans and create a party they want to join. And so that we look back and we go, we are still a legitimate party in this state. And I think that goes for pretty much every state in the union, is that, there is no state where conservatives have no hope. And we're seeing that in California right now as well. And Eric Swalwell just dropped out of that race. I don't know if you saw that yesterday.
Eric Swalwell dropped out of the race. No, he didn't. He just resigned from Congress, effective immediately.
No, he dropped out of the governor's race.
Who? Swalwell did?
Swalwell did.
Yep, he has to. You want to know why he has to? Here, let me just show you something.
I mean, he was going to lose anyways, but
I'm going to give a shout out to my boys over at Marco Polo, especially G-Man, Garrett. He sent me a bunch of information. This is the craziest thing. First of all, I can never stay connected to Marco Polo because they constantly undo. This post is unavailable. Why is this post unavailable? Oh, nope, there it is. So, there's a video I just shared it with you guys. Okay. I'm sorry. The Democrat Party and the Republican Party, that you have people that are dropping out on both sides. This is the most resignations we've had. If you were to add them up, what's happening right now, they know that things are degrading to a place where they don't want anything to do with it. They're running away right now, right? But there was a video of Eric Swalwell with a porn star.
yeah.
So we were able to find this person. This, by the way, none of these pictures are bad pictures, but Marco Polo was able to uncover this woman. So there's a video attached to it too. Do you guys see the video? Let's put the video up first. Now Eric is married. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Would you agree? Couldn't happen.
I sense a large amount of sarcasm.
A little bit of sarcasm. Might be sarcastic, just a little bit. Put the video up. There's Eric Swalwell, and I don't even know what he's doing. Like, what is that? What is he doing? Like, what is the? And who's the woman in the background? Like, what is happening here? And who's taking the picture? You got two dudes and a woman that are on a bed. Nothing about this video makes any sense to me. But we found out who she is. So let's go and put that up if we can. She is, she's with Babe. Her name is Summerlee Morton. Summerlee Morton. And we're not going to put up the pictures, but she is a self-proclaimed porn star and adult model. That's Eric Swalwell, right there. His wife's at home with his kids, and he's out running around with porn stars. That's the Democrat Party. Go ahead and take it down.
I mean, I think that's kind of like everybody that's been in the Democrat Party in California for a long time.
Most of the Democrat Party is a
new.
bunch of weirdos. But my point is because the GOP is so broken, we are likely to get the same type of people inside of office on both sides. Both sides are rotted out. When people talk about the uniparty, they're talking about the uniparty because there's no accountability and there's no standard by which people can identify with. They can't identify with the KKK club of the Democrats or the genocide club that says the only thing you have is the ability to kill your babies. And they can't identify with the Republicans because, as we said before at the very beginning, that they're shamed into staying away from the Republican Party, even though it has better candidates. And inside the Republican Party, we got the same infiltrators, the same evil people that are on the left that are inside of our party that are dictating that, oh, you're not allowed to do anything because, you know, we're allowed to act and do whatever we want, passive aggressively hurting people and making it an untenable place for people to operate or to hang out.
I mean, I think that there should be, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, if you have to question whether or not something that's about to come out of your mouth is going to cost you a relationship, there might not be a relationship you want to begin with. Like, I mean, I want to be able to debate every subject with every Republican, just because, number one, I believe it makes us all stronger. I mean, do we even understand why we believe what we believe, or have we just reiterated what we heard on Fox News, which I think is a huge portion of the Republicans? So it's like, why not have a substantive conversation with somebody? And if you disagree with me, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that it should cost us our relationship or that all of a sudden I've become some, you know, demonic Hell's Angel because I disagreed with you on something.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, so we got to go. Listen to me. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Tune in to more. We got any comments that we want to put up here before we go? No? Let's see what we got.
That's
here.
a lot of comments.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments. Priscilla's a good person, by the way. Just want everybody to know that. It's not her that did it. It's someone else. When is voting for Joe's position? Don't know, actually. It'll be done the day after the 17th, I think, is when Eric's going to call for it. I know many serious conservatives who are not Republicans. I agree with you fully, John. Fully agree with you. Trump hater, billionaire, and shoots, funds and controls LPR. I'm not sure he hates President Trump, but we'll figure out how to get to the bottom of that. We got to figure out what's going on in Colorado. Like it or not, Anschutz it's kind of his state, right? He can fund and do whatever he wants inside the state of Colorado. What else? That's it. I think that's all we got.
Gammy, I loved how many free Tina Peters stickers you had on.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
I think it was a whole roll. You should probably just have somebody make you a dress like free Tina Peters, just all over.
All right. Well, let's do this. Let me see this really quick. See if I have anything else one day. Got it. All right, we're going to pray it out. Thank you, Susan. Always good to see you, the good Susan Rice. Again, make sure that you're the advocates of this. We did this specifically for the people of Colorado so you understand kind of what is going to come next. There is a lot of pressure being put on people to say, no, keep the status quo, what we've done for the last 20 years. It's worked so far, right? Now, they do it under the guise of saying that, well, you got to stay in the middle and you can't have too much pressure and, mean girls, you have to be able to say and do whatever they want. There's a lot of pressure to keep things to where we can degrade it to nothings. Again, and we'd have to ignore a couple key things. One, we don't have an office. We don't have any, we literally don't have a state party right now. Do you agree?
100%.
We don't have a state party. And we don't have any donors. Like the donors are just, I'm done. Get me out. Get me out. I'm not going to do anything without, I am going to go meet with Anschutz. Yeah, that will happen. All right. I'm going to pray us out. All right, Father God, thank you for having Jason on today. Thank you for at least getting us through that assembly. Thank you for the people that you've put in the gap that keep fighting to restore you to our communities and to our country. Father, we are in the thralls of this extreme degradation. It's like the whole thing's just falling apart. And yet we know, Father, that you are in the middle of all of it and it's all purposeful. But we ask you to give us the ability and the light to know where to go so that we can fight and do the things that are necessary in order for good to be done. We also, Father, we recognize that President Trump is under an extreme amount of pressure and that there are people dying and suffering all over the world. So, Father, I just ask you we can get to some resolutions and get to a place where we can have accountability, especially on our elections. We know that they are stolen. You know that they are stolen. Everyone knows that they are stolen. They are stolen, and we are slaves. So, Father, I ask you to give us the ability to fight back and to take back the voice of the people to deliver us from this bondage. I ask you, Father, to save those people that are out there that are in the middle of this fight, that are in harm's way. Father, I just ask you to put a shield of protection over them as well. I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Anschutz owns Hospital Gazette and let them print what? Butchered kids? What the heck? I don't know what you're talking about, Gammy. That's too much for me. All right, we'll see you guys later. God bless you. Jason, thanks for coming on, brother. Always great.
Thank you, Joe.
And we will see you tomorrow.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real, no more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle.